But inflammation is finally getting its place, its rightful place in medicine as being a cause of disease. So we're here today to talk to you about inflammation and the role of food in dampening and keeping inflammation under control, and how important that is for all sorts of health conditions, not just autoimmune, where we think about inflammation. What about heart disease, inflammation of the endothelial lining? What about brain conditions, neural inflammation, and just about everything, gastritis, arthritis, everything has that inflammatory cause. So we're going to talk about foods. We're going to talk about foods that cause inflammation and foods that help us to control inflammation. So I'm excited to have here today Jennifer Whitmire, and she's a foodist medicine coach, and she just is passionate about using food to help people heal from whatever it is that they're working on. And I know we don't like to use the word heal, so we like to use recover from or balance themselves. And inflammation is raging in most people and most places, and a lot of places we don't even think about. So we're going to be talking about that. And Steph Jackson and I are going to grill her. We're all passionate about talking about inflammation. So here we are. Yay. All right. So let's start out with, why is inflammation so important? How does inflammation contribute to disease?
Oh, inflammation creates so many different things going on in the body. I mean, inflammation can raise your cortisol, which can raise your blood sugar. It creates damage in the body that you may not even know it's existing or feel it either. And so it's something that's happening in the body. Now, inflammation can be good.
And it is needed
Right,
sometimes,
in
right?
certain
If you have
times.
an injury.
Right. So we don't want to eliminate. We can't say elimination is a bad
Right,
word.
that's a bad word, right?
Right. We need it. If you fall down and you break your leg, you want some blood circulation increase to the area and cells move to the area. It's supposed to be a part of a healing.
Right.
But when we have chronic inflammation, it's going on and on. It can go on for years and years and years in autoimmune disease. I don't remember how many years, like 5 or 7 years.
Before we even know about it. Most people go 5 to 7 years with vague
Right.
symptoms before they're even diagnosed.
Right. I'm saying with like cancer, we're talking about autoimmune disease, but it's brewing. We don't know that it's going on.
Right. So until it's caused major damage. So, and there are markers, right? We can talk about some of that. There are markers to tell us, oh, there's subtle inflammation. Example, I had my C-reactive protein tested last year, 2 years ago, and it was elevated. And I'm like, why is my C-reactive protein elevated? I do anti-inflammatory foods and I'm taking care of myself. And then I remembered I have all these old fillings and old root canals in my mouth, and they just periodically flare up. Well, I notice it when they periodically flare up, but then it goes back underneath the surface, but that doesn't mean it's gone. Right. So I realized that I need to do something about these old dental work and cleaning up my mouth because it was contributing to inflammation. And here's the deal, right? If it's contributing to inflammation in here, where else can be contributing to inflammation?
The whole body.
The whole body. And with my family history of heart disease, I was concerned, and there's a big link, and now we're talking about this a lot, between the mouth and the cardiovascular disease. So it's really important. So before we get into the foods, I really want to talk about the tests, right? Okay. How would somebody know that they have some inflammation that's going on? Is it found in the routine test or? Yeah. Okay. So how do we test for inflammation?
I always look for homocysteine and highly sensitive CRP. And I just always, when we do the first round of labs, do those.
Always ask for those.
Now, I said no in the basic labs. I will look for trends in cholesterol. Sometimes that can give me a sign that maybe there's some inflammation going on if I see that it's trending. Certain cholesterol numbers are trending up over time when I know someone's been doing quote unquote all the things. Right.
Yeah.
They're eating an anti-inflammatory diet. They're focusing on meditation and all the other things. But the cholesterol keeps creeping up. It's like, wait, we need to test this a little further and do a little bit further.
And look for hidden sources. Right. That's the thing, the hidden sources, right?
What about ferritin?
Oh, yeah. Ferritin, like you discovered in your case. Right.
What else? So the other ones that I look at for inflammation that aren't really looked at a lot, uric acid. Right. Yes. And people just think, oh, this person doesn't have gout. They're not. They're not a male drinking too much wine and steak and they're, so gout. Uric acid can be elevated, and that's an inflammatory marker. What about GGT? Do you ever look at GGT as an inflammatory marker?
Not that often. Usually I will only use that if someone has a history of alcohol, right?
Alcoholism.
Or, right.
Or
It's
liver,
really,
liver toxicity. That used to be a standard test. Like a lot of the tests that we used to just include on the regular blood panel aren't in there anymore. When you do a comprehensive metabolic panel, oftentimes in the past, I would always see the GGT and I'd see phosphorus and I'd see all kinds of things that are gone now. Right. So sometimes you have to look more carefully and get those a comprehensive inflammation panel, like SED rate. That used to be done all the time on everybody. And now it's not done very much at all. Right. So subtle signs that there's some inflammation. And for me, the kickoff was, why the heck is my CRP high? That doesn't make sense.
right.
And now I'm going, okay, it's my mouth. Right.
Yeah.
And we look, you have to look for those hidden sources.
Right.
So inflammation is important. We know that testing for inflammation is important. It's not often done on a comprehensive basis on your standard blood chemistry. So as a functional practitioner, you should be helping people to talk to their doctor about getting those, or if you are their doctor as a functional medical practitioner, you should be getting those numbers. And if you're a health coach or somebody else who's not in the primary care field, is to help them to get it. And there's a lot of labs out there now that people can go direct access to, depending on what country and what state and all that. But really know what labs you can refer people to go to and order their own labs, because it's really important to do. All right. So that aside, inflammation is important. We've established that inflammation can be important in all kinds of conditions, and cancers on a rage. Heart disease are the top two leading killers of people in the Western world. So inflammation is at the heart of that. But anything that ends in an itis, right? Nephritis, gastritis, arthritis, encephalitis, it's all inflammation. So we've understood that. How do people get control of their inflammation? We mentioned a little earlier, they're eating an anti-inflammatory diet. What does that look like?
Right. Well, for me, the first thing I do is ask them, what are you eating? A food diary. We're talking about food, but it could be something outside the food too. So I don't want everyone to think that it's just the food, right? It could be more. But when we're looking at food, I'm looking at what they're eating every day.
Yep.
Processed foods, especially ultra processed foods, deli meats, gluten, and dairy. So anyone with autoimmune, I immediately tell them, I'm sorry, we have to go off of gluten and dairy. And maybe it's not going to be permanent, but we do need, if you are inflamed, we have to take these out, because it's highly likely that they're creating inflammation in the body. And so we need to take those out, help your body to recover, and then you can test them later. But for now, since you're on quote unquote fire, we want to make sure that we're doing whatever we can. And so I do remove some things, but then I like to make sure that they are including a lot of things that are healing to the body, help to bring the body back into balance, and cool that inflammation.
Cool the inflammation, right?
Yes.
Do you have any other foods that you take them off of, Steph, that that you think are for most people inflammatory?
Foods that they're having the most often.
The
most of the people that I talk to are gluten-free and have given up a lot of things. And so then there's a little bit of trying to figure out
what else is
going on. Maybe it's something they eat often.
So you're looking at food cravings?
Cravings and frequency. So if they are eating frequently, like if they're having something every day for breakfast,
to see if that's causing.
Mm-hmm.
And when you say that, it's like you're looking for foods that they're sensitive, that they're having an immune reaction or some sort of reaction to, because all of that's inflammation.
And we can create inflammation in other ways than being sensitive to a food. So I don't rush off and do the IgA, IgG, or IgE testing even, and there is a place for that. But it might be something that's happening specifically in their gut. When they eat the food, they might be sensitive to FODMAPs. It might be like a gas and bloating kind of situation. It might be offsetting the bacteria in there, and none of that's going to show up in an IgA.
It's not going to show up.
No. Sometimes it's process of elimination.
Yeah. And so anything can be inflammatory. There's certain things that are definitely like the fats that are in processed food. So why are ultra processed foods so bad? It's all those hydrogenated and processed and heated and altered fats that are in there. And it's not like the whole seed oil thing that everybody's up in arms against. Some oils, some fats are inflammatory by nature. Some are less inflammatory by nature. And it's a balance, like everything else. It's a juggling act. Right. Those hydrogenated and partially hydrogenated and heated and processed oils become toxic to the body in that they create inflammation in the body. Right.
Right. And so as we're digging into the food, maybe they've gone gluten-free and or dairy-free. So when we talk about inflammation, maybe they have gone dairy-free and they're focusing on almond milk, almond yogurt. They gave up gluten. They're eating almond crackers. Almonds are a really healthy food, but A, that's a lot of almonds. And B, what are they doing? Almonds can be very healthy, but they're very high in omega-6 fats. And so we need to make sure that we're balancing that out with some omega-3 fats.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So my understanding is almonds are 72-1. Omega-6 to 3.
Yeah.
Not that omega-6s are bad. They're essential. We need them for a lot of processes, but it's a balance between 2, 3, and 6. And it's in general, it's balance in the body that we're looking for, right? So 72-1, how much chia seed or flaxseed or hemp seed or walnuts or other things that are high in
Even
omega-3.
walnuts are what, 24-1?
4. No,
Are you
there's
sure?
4-1.
Okay, we'll get back to this debate later.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Walnuts are considered the only nut that's close to balanced in 6-3. The others are all like 72-1, or even sesame seeds are like, I think it's in the 60s to 1.
I knew walnuts were the best, but I thought they were still around 20.
We'll look that up.
Yeah, well, we're gonna look
that up and get back. Yeah,
Yeah.
4-1 is what I have in my charts and what
Yeah.
I've always seen. Similar to hemp seeds.
Yeah.
Right. I could be wrong, but
Yeah.
I've been following that in my own eating and going, oh, we have a handful of omega-3s now and have some walnuts.
But yeah, so then it's like, it's not like almonds are bad.
No,
Right.
no.
Almonds exist.
Right.
Yeah, great.
It's
Yes.
just depending on the balance.
It's the balance.
Right.
It
threes and
really is the
sixes.
balance. And then you get
Yeah.
enough algae in there. If you eat fish, you
Yeah.
eat fish, and that balances it. If you do, but hemp seeds and chia seeds. Okay, so to give you a comparison, chia seeds are 1 to 20. So 1 part omega-6 to 20 parts 3 or something is much larger, right?
This is
It goes
different
the
than what
other
I
way.
also know. We're coming back to this.
Okay, we're going to come back to this.
Yeah.
We'll post a chart in the show notes.
Yeah.
But it's the opposite. Flax seeds and chia seeds are the opposite. You always see that they have a lot more omega-6, and maybe 1 to 4,
More
maybe
3,
not
yeah.
22. But they have way more 3
Yeah.
than 1. And I created a spreadsheet where I can put the numbers in and I can help people
Nice.
make recipes where it shows you at the bottom what your ratio is. And you're trying to get a 4-1 ratio or less of 6 to 3. So it is more, it's okay to have more 6 than 3, but the average person with MS has like a 22-1 ratio, right?
Yes.
Really, really high omega-6. And when we balance that out, their inflammation starts to go down. I literally worked with people who we start to see their symptoms of autoimmune disease improve, right? And so that's part of it. So more about like what foods, like I have a whole booklet or a chart of anti-inflammatory and inflammatory foods. And it's important for people to understand what they are, but not like to say this food is bad because it's a higher, and this
Right.
food's good. It's a matter of balance. It's always a matter
Right.
of balance. So what are some of your favorite foods to help people get the inflammation under control?
Well, I always start with the omega-3s. I like to increase greens for many reasons. That increase our minerals mainly. Increasing minerals and absorption.
Right.
Because in autoimmune disease, we have difficulty in most cases absorbing nutrients. And so using juices actually is helpful. Green juices, not fruit juices, for getting minerals. And so that can help with inflammation. I also focus on rainbow foods, getting those polyphenols from all the different colors. And so an easy thing for people to do is to increase the color in their meals. And so if they look, what they're eating at every meal, is it a colorful dish or not? And aiming for that.
So the purples and the reds and the
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of those foods specifically. What are some good purple foods?
So purple cabbage, purple sweet potatoes, like a bunch of blood sugar, purple kale. We have purple cauliflower, purple green beans.
There's purple in a lot of them,
Yes,
right?
Yes, purple carrots.
Yeah. Okay, so red. What's some good stuff?
Red. Well, we can get red bell peppers. We can get tomatoes.
Somebody says, but I can't do those because I'm nightshade sensitive.
Yes, well, and then you might be,
Might
and
be.
maybe it's something we need to look at, but we don't completely rule that out until we need to rule that out, right? But for reds, probably berries,
Berries.
yeah, raspberries are really high. Those are wonderful
Strawberries.
for helping with the inflammation. And so those I would choose over some of the others. Though I don't want to call any food bad. We just need to make sure that it's right for you.
For you, right? And you
Right.
mentioned the blood sugar, right? Some
Mhm.
people can eat
Mhm.
whatever they want in the natural food realm, and it doesn't raise their blood sugar considerably. And other people have sensitivities, partially
Yes.
genetic and partially to all the M&Ms they ate when they were kids.
And some people can eat tomatoes and be
And
perfectly
be
fine.
perfectly
Yes.
fine, right?
Right.
Yeah, so then we have fermenting, right? So if it's
Yes.
an oxalate issue, we can also ferment to reduce over 90% of the oxalates in food,
Right.
depending on which bacteria we use and how long we go. And then there's also flours. So if we can't tolerate, there are very few like phytochemicals in the natural world that make things those colors. So if we want to have something that's purple food, we can go for an edible purple flower like a dahlia, or we can go for
fun.
hibiscus for the
Yeah.
reds.
Mhm.
Oh, violets, that's a great idea. Yeah.
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 And I think that's something most people overlook. So, as a health practitioner or coach, somebody who's advising people on these things, it's to help people expand their horizon of foods rather than contract
Yeah.
it and make it
Right. We
less.
don't want to just keep eliminating and
Yeah.
eliminating.
And a lot of the time too, the green foods, just like our leaves turn different colors in the fall because the chlorophyll's
Right.
gone, the green is hiding all of those other
All the
phytochemicals. So if
phytochemicals.
we're looking for an orange food, we're looking for something that has those vitamin A precursors. We can also turn to some greens.
Some of the greens, right?
Yeah.
Because they're green
Yeah.
but that
They
So
have
like the
those
colors are
colors.
fun, but like instead of having a plate of strawberries, we could also have
Right.
spinach if
various
that works for
greens.
you.
Yeah. So what else? What other foods do you find that
And
people?
lots of berries, lots of colorful foods. I always add in the herbs. Yes,
And the
whenever we
herbs.
can. Yeah.
Right. So what are some herbs that people? There's some of them that people already know about, but what are some of the herbs that people?
I was thinking of yellow, and I was trying to think of yellow foods.
Yeah.
But my yellow herbs, calendula is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Right. So yellow, ginkgo, but that's not for everyone.
Not for everybody.
Right. So it's hard to come up with a lot of the yellows, but
There's yellow carrots.
yeah, yellow carrots and lemons, yellow
beets.
cauliflower, yellow
Yeah.
beets.
Yeah.
Yes. And then I was trying to think of yellow herbs too, and calendula is always my go-to.
Yeah. And the orange. There's some fun orange foods.
Yes. Yeah. Carrots and bell peppers. Bell peppers are in all of them.
Yeah.
Unless you have a nightshade sensitivity, which is something that we could consider.
Yeah.
Right.
Everything I've studied looks at like maybe about 10% of the population truly has a nightshade sensitivity or
Yeah.
less. Right.
Right.
So it's a matter of elimination and then adding back. I tell people
Right.
when we're suspicious, they're like, but it's summertime. Like just eliminate the tomatoes and all for a couple of weeks and then go and make gazpacho.
Right.
And then just see how you react because
Right.
gazpacho's loaded with tomatoes.
Right. One of my favorite orange foods is sweet potatoes. Now we have to watch our blood sugar, but they have that precursor to vitamin A, which is very important in autoimmune disease. Anytime we have inflammation, right? And so that is also important for increasing that. Pumpkin as well, but we have to watch
blood sugar control. What about turmeric? We hear a lot about turmeric.
Yeah, so turmeric's highly anti-inflammatory, which ginger could have been a yellow for us, right?
Ginger is a yellow.
Yes,
Yeah,
I love both
so
of
good.
those. Ginger doesn't get the credit that turmeric does.
Is it hype that turmeric is like the answer to everybody's prayers? It's like, turmeric, it's antioxidant.
Yeah, can we talk about that?
Can we?
Yeah,
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I feel like it is a little, which is why I said ginger. It's like, wait, I'm always like, wait, it's maybe because I just love ginger.
Yeah, ginger.
Right. Yeah.
I like them together.
Yeah.
My thing.
But so then there's so many kind of, I feel, things that just get thrown around about turmeric, and I'm wondering, all the studies that I've seen are on curcumin.
On the
Right?
extract.
A certain amount of the extract
of the turmeric.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. And then there's our obsession with its absorption.
Right.
And a lot of, you have to have a lot of the absorption, our gut flora and the turmeric interact. And then it's the postbiotics from that are quite often the anti-inflammatory or inflammation modulating thing. So then we're taking the like liposomal or adding black pepper or doing our fancy whatever.
Right.
Fermenting, though, I do think that's a good idea. It does
Ferment
absorption.
Fermenting.
Yeah, just for the oxalates and lots of other reasons too, and for the absorption, for the ginger and the turmeric. But then it's not all about like what we absorb. A lot of these inflammation modulating actions are through our gut flora.
Flora.
And so then it doesn't even sort of matter if we're absorbing it or not. And a lot of the orange foods as well. It's more about those vitamin A precursors and how those influence our gut flora.
Right.
And then that sends like a postbiotic signal to our immune system to reduce inflammation. It's not even something we absorb and then make something with like it's Lego.
Okay. Yeah. So if you are taking like a sublingual, for example, right?
Yeah.
That it's not getting into the gut.
Yeah.
Just that.
Yeah, I'm saying it needs to get into the
It
gut.
needs to get into the gut. That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, all those colorful foods too, like the red foods we were talking about, like the elagitannins in the red foods have to go through the gut where they're converted to urolithins, which then we absorb and can help us with our mitochondrial energy. And so it's just not about, and then we're taking the extract.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's good to have both.
Yeah, and I think variety is the spice of life, as they say, but variety in your food and color and the various phytochemicals and all that, we need a variety, right? There's no one food that's the magic bullet. And that's what I was trying to get out with that question, right? Is that turmeric is king or queen or whatever you think if it has a gender.
They.
I don't know, they. But it's like it's the best, right? And you're right. Ginger can be so anti-inflammatory. I've had people who I've recommended do ginger juice to help with pain and inflammation, when I was doing a lot of hands-on work with people. And one guy came to me and he said, "Oh my God, that ginger is amazing. I had ginger juice." And he said, my dose is every 3.5 hours. Because if I go longer than 3.5 hours, my back pain came back. Not that we were addressing the underlying causes and working on his back pain, but inflammation is a biggie. And it was like, wow, that's so cool. Right? It never occurred to me about the timing.
When I would take my daughter to get her braces tightened, she would drink ginger tea when we got back in the car, and she never had pain. Like I remember getting braces tightened and it hurt, and she never experienced it.
So some of the external symptoms we hear about color and dolor and all this. So pain, inflammation, redness would be a sign. But what about if you have it on your skin, obviously you're going to see your cut. You're going to see all that, right? And feel all that. But how do we know if we have those hidden inflammations? Say we haven't done. Are there other symptoms we might be seeing that say, inflammation might be at play here?
Well, it could be you're tired, brain fog.
Yeah, that's a good point. Right. So I think, it goes back to eating an anti-inflammatory diet, whatever that might be for you, getting rid of the obvious inflammatory foods. And I'm going to go back and summarize those again. I want to look at how do you feel, right? How do you feel when you eat certain foods, but how do you feel in general, right? Like you said, the brain fog, the fatigue, gut imbalance, gut discomfort, but pain, like joint pain, etc.
Shoulder pain, back
pain, and it doesn't go away, right? You said at the beginning about acute. I mean, it's important to have it. You have a broken arm, you have a bug bite, your body's trying to expel and clear it, but when it doesn't go away is the problem. I've had people who have had a car accident and everything seems to be back in place, and it's years later and they're still having the inflammation. Right? That's inflammation out of control that we really do need to look at. And again, going back to, I'm sensitive about this because of my family history of heart disease, is that it could be silently building up inflammation in your endothelial lining, right? Your blood vessel linings. And you don't know it until like my parents, you just die suddenly of a heart attack. Right. So these are the reasons that we want you to be on top of it and get a lot of these testing done. We'll do some other videos on testing and some of the important testing that is so often overlooked that can help people to find these hidden sources. Right. And then there's autoimmune, right? People all of a sudden they have these symptoms, and how do we know it's autoimmune? Well, we test antibodies or we test inflammation markers, right? So all these things are important. And a lot of times autoimmune is brewing for years sometimes before it's actually manifesting in symptoms, right? So we can actually test for antibodies in certain areas.
Right. I have some questions. So like we were talking about the 3s and 6s, right?
Yeah.
Just making sure that a person has balanced or has at least a 4-to-1 ratio of the 6 to 3, it's not going to make their inflammation go away.
No.
Or like we know about the endothelial lining, how important potassium is, for example. And so let's say we eat a lot of whatever avocados and apricots. That's not going to make it that the person doesn't end up with a heart condition. So
Right.
what are the other things that need to be balanced?
Oh, stress right off the bat. Yeah. So not food related, but well, we could have stress from food.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes. Yes. And so we do have to look for those food sensitivities, which you mentioned a little bit earlier too. So watching for
Right.
food sensitivities and things like that, doing an elimination diet, right? But then stress from work and everything else too.
Yeah,
That
that's
creates
critical.
inflammation. We don't think about that.
And taking your question a little further is there's no one thing that if you do
Right.
it, it's going to heal. So, oh, I'm going to balance my omega-3s and 6s. Why do I still have inflammation?
Right.
Oh,
Right.
I'm eating turmeric 3
Yeah.
times a day. Why do I
Right.
still have inflammation?
But this is what people will say. I'll get a text
Exactly.
message that says,
Uh-huh.
I'm eating this and this and this. What's still wrong with me?
What's still
Right.
wrong with me? Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it's a
Right.
matter of balance, right? We're
Right.
trying to get balance.
Mhm.
And for a lot of those people, I say, I'm drinking my green juice and I'm eating that stuff that I don't really like anymore. And I've given up ice cream and I still feel like crap. Okay, we're going to listen to how you're speaking and how you're stressing about this, right? Attitude is so important.
Mhm.
And I love the people I work with who come and say, this is going on, and I know that we're going to find an answer. I know we're going to figure it out because my body is smart and we're going to figure out how to heal it. Those are the people that heal,
Right.
right?
Right.
And the ones that are like, God damn it, I just have to go back to the doctor and get a surgery or get this thing. And they're like, okay. So we have to be the voice of reason, right? There's no one thing. I talk about the 7 pillars, right? We have to be having fun. We have to be sleeping and resting and having good environment and exercising and having a good diet, having a good outlook, a positive outlook, and then mindfulness practices, whether it's meditation or tapping or whatever works for that person. And it's important for us to be looking at what can we get, not like what's the best mindfulness practice. What is the one they're going to do that's going to get them results? And I can tell somebody to meditate for 3 hours a day. Most of them are not going to. I can tell somebody to meditate for 15 minutes a day. A lot of people will do that, but some of them are like, I can't meditate. I just can't meditate. I don't want, what else can I do? Right? For some people, it's prayer. For some people, it's gardening. For some people, it's hugging their pet, right? And getting the oxytocin going. So it's all about balance, not just balance in the diet, obviously, balance in the stress levels, but balance in their whole lifestyle and identifying, really asking questions and figuring out what are the key things that are going to move the needle the most. Because if you can identify the things that are going to move the needle the most and they get results, they're going to go, okay, what else can I do?
Yeah, big rocks.
Right?
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Right.
Food is critical. And sadly, in our society where autoimmune conditions are, it's an epidemic right now. Most doctors are not trained in all the underlying causes. They're just like, oh, test the antibodies. You have these antibodies. We're just going to have to control the symptoms, right? Here's the anti-inflammatory medications and they're not really adept at helping people to change their diet, to change their lifestyle, to do all those things. And so many of us I was very fortunate that I had health issues in my 20s and I changed early on. So the last 30, 40 years almost 40 years, I've been doing like amazing stuff for myself. Am I perfect? No. Are there still remnants of old stuff like dental work that are stressing my body? Absolutely. We all have that. And nobody's ever going to be perfect, right? And occasionally you're going to eat a food and go, oh, that caused me to get inflammation.
Right.
That caused me, I overate. I ate too late.
I didn't chew.
Whoops.
Yeah.
Right. And then you get back on track. And when you as a practitioner have techniques and strategies and ideas that you can share with people to move the needle, help them to do what they can do right now. And then a little bit more and a little bit more as they start to trust you, feel safe, and get results. Make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So how can we wrap this all in a bow and give the people
Well, it's
action
important.
steps?
You know, one of the things I was going to say when you were saying that the conventional medicine system doesn't really help address that. I went to a couple of different doctors after my diagnosis, and they all said food and lifestyle have nothing to do with
Nothing
this.
to do with it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what you eat,
Wow.
right? And so we have to change
We
that.
have to change that.
Right? Because
Right.
I mean, but
food
doesn't
definitely
ever like
affects.
so you don't have to be a doctor to look at like an apple and an apple pie
No.
and figure out which one is better for you. So like I
Right.
actually don't understand. It's
Right.
like,
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And connecting that the food, the cigarette, people, it took a long time before they agreed that cigarettes were damaging, right?
Right.
Now most people agree on it, except the ones that are totally addicted and don't, in denial. But the same thing with food. People don't want to give up their habits.
Right.
Like we'll read a bunch of stuff about coffee. And I'm not saying coffee is bad for everyone, but I think there's a lot of negative sides of coffee. Alcohol. I think, oh yeah, it helps with the French paradox and all that kind of stuff. But alcohol harms brain cells, it harms liver cells, it harms the pancreas, right? What is pancreatitis and pancreatic cancer come from? Over alcohol, right? So there's all these things that people want, they want to do, and they don't want to give up.
Right.
And they go into denial. And a lot of doctors are like that, because if they start to share with their patients that this is not good, you have to stop it, guess what? They would have to do it themselves.
Right.
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 Yeah.
And so I think there's a lot of that. And we want to make coffee got a resurgence over the last 10 years and all, right?
Right.
It was like
The
most
bulletproof
practitioners,
thing.
right, with
Right.
most practitioners saying, oh, get people off of coffee, get them off of alcohol, get them off of this and that and sugar. And all of a sudden coffee became, oh, coffee's good for, maybe you like it. Great. And you can drink it once in a while. Great. But what about the addictive nature of it?
Right.
What about the headaches you get when you stop it? It means that there's something that it's doing that's not quite right in your body. So again, talking to your clients and patients when you're interviewing them at the beginning, are there any foods that you're unwilling to give up regardless of the health implications? When you ask that question, the answers you get give you a clue as to what they need to give up.
Right.
And how you're going to be having to work with them, because they're kind of addicted to it, right? I mean, I love chocolate, don't get me wrong. I have my own addictions, but not really an addiction, because I can go a long time without chocolate, but I love chocolate. And to me, it's like, oh, look at all these studies that show all the great I don't have a CYP1A2 gene, so I can handle the caffeine, which is not really caffeine, and it's theobromine. I can handle it. But if I had a CYP1A2, or I had a particular thing that made chocolate bad for me, I'd give it up in a heartbeat. Right. Seriously, because I don't love it enough to be willing to take the negative effects on my body.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to get at with people and help them, not to say, you've got to stop that, you're going to die, but it's more like helping them to see what that's doing and helping them have trade-offs. And I'll tell you a quick story about somebody who was trying to get her off of coffee because of, some adrenal stuff and hyperstimulation and all. And when we got her genes tested and we saw that she did have CYP1A2 homozygous, and she had family history of breast cancer. And I said to her, this is the deal. She goes, I'm done.
Yeah.
I don't like it that much. I'm done. And she gave it up.
Yeah.
And the same thing with alcohol, with wine. I don't have any of the genes that make it so that I just absolutely can't process it, but I won't do it because of what I know it does to my microbiome and what I know it does to my brain. I like my brain.
Right.
I don't want to kill my brain just to have a glass of wine and feel kind of woozy. And that's the kind of stuff that we as practitioners need to be just giving them choice, right? I'll say, which do you like better, your boobs or your coffee? And they'll go,
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely my boobs.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely want to keep them,
honest.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's learning how to help people in those ways and not be like wishy-washy about it, but also not be mean about it.
I think you can also find reductive studies that show there's one good thing
Yeah.
in whatever.
In everything.
Beer, coffee, wine, although those are totally messed up. Those studies are like, that's wrong.
Right.
Resveratrol that's not a thing. Anyone can find justification.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's not a reason to give up on a client, because the most people that say, I will not change my diet, I will not change this, I will not give up on that.
Sometimes they will.
They will when you give them the right, when you
sometimes
give
they
the right
won't.
reason. Sometimes
Right.
they won't.
But usually over time,
Yeah.
like with like love and care.
Yes.
Right.
Yes,
Exactly.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
I've
I
had
have too.
those.
I have totally. And love and care. And that brings us around full circle to hormones, right? Oxytocin.
Okay.
What can you do in your practice to help people to produce more oxytocin? Because oxytocin is a feel good hormone. It counteracts cortisol, it helps to produce more dopamine. Uh, it's a feel good hormone. How do we help people? Right. And when you have care for them, yeah, you got to be careful about touch because, but hugging your patient,
Women talking, right?
Like this is an oxytocin boost.
Yes.
Absolutely. And just rubbing your own arms, right? Or teaching them the little things like that. If they have a pet, giving them an action step that isn't like, today we're going to give up gluten. I want you to go home and sit on the couch for 15 minutes and hug your cat. And we did that with one person. And she was like, really? And the cat came over to her during a group call. And then she was like sitting there and I'm like, that's your answer.
Right.
Right? You got to spend more time with that animal, right? So animals and children and partners and all that stuff. So we'll combine that. Those things are anti-inflammatory, right? Those things are anti-inflammatory. So when you ask, what is it besides the food? And that's a big piece of it.
Yes, it is. It's huge.
So closing, what are some of the things that as a practitioner we can do early in the relationship with someone, and a couple of things that we can advise them to do to help get their inflammation under control?
Well, for me, I'm all about the food. So the first thing I do is I do look at their diet. Everybody eats. And so they write down, what have they been eating for the last 3 days, right? Or it can be even as simple as what do you normally eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Or do you eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Do you eat snacks? What all do you have to eat or drink, which is one that I skipped one time. Right. And what is your meal timing? Are you getting up in the middle of the night and snacking? Are you eating late at night? All of those things can affect inflammation. And so it's not just the meal timing. It's not just what they're eating. It's all of that in combination. And then going through that and helping them see what they can change.
Yep.
And discussing that, and then increasing the things that are anti-inflammatory and making sure they're eating leafy greens in a way that suits them best. Maybe raw is good for you. Maybe they need to be juiced. Maybe they need to be lightly steamed. And so we see what is going to be right for you. But first, we need to look at what are they eating and what are they doing? Because a step that I did miss was asking about what they were drinking. So I had one that was drinking coffee till noon and then Diet Cokes from then on. And that wasn't even a part of my question. I was asked about the food. I never asked about the drink. Right. So are they hydrated? Right. And so making sure that they are well hydrated and drinking that water, and then looking at the foods and seeing what needs to be tweaked. Do they have lots of vegetables, lots of colorful vegetables throughout their day? Are there foods that are going to be promoting inflammation, raising blood sugar, or are they blood stabilizing type of meals as well? Because all that affects inflammation as well. So I'm looking for rainbow foods. I'm looking for greens. I like greens 3 meals a day, or if they eat 3 meals a day, or 2 meals a day, right? And I do like the rest in between the meals if possible. Right. And then I like them to stop eating 3 hours before they go to bed, not eating overnight, not snacking while they're watching TV. As
they're
well.
all good things to start with. And find out where they need the help.
Right.
What about you? What can you add to that?
I think food journal, that's amazing. And not doing that would be insane. And then I think it's digging, just really listening. Right after that as well.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So again, we as health practitioners, as functional health practitioners, are really dedicated to helping people find root causes, correct root causes, and use the tools that nature provided us, the food and the sleep and all the things, right? Those are really important, as opposed to just jumping in and looking for the right supplement for handling their stuff. Supplements can be very important, and they're a supplement to a healthy lifestyle and a healthy diet. Together, we can transform health for ourselves and for our clients. If you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, and check out our other videos on metabolic health and hormone balance next. I'll see you on the next video.